I'm Lisa Haisha, and welcome to the Legacy Series. Today, my guest is Paul Ryan. I probably don't even need to introduce him because everyone probably knows who he already is. He is the Paul Ryan of Hollywood. He has done everything. He's an actor. He's a comic. He taught classes. He taught some of the top comedians you see on television today. He's a TV host, and he's an amazing human being above all. I love Paul. I've known him for a total of like 3 days. No, I've known him for about 4 days. Yeah, that's right, 4. I've known him. I met him. I took his class actually like 8 years ago because I wanted to learn how to host a show. So you let me know how I'm doing here, and yeah, and I think that's all I'm going to say right now since I got kind of so reviews so far. I need to learn. So give me a tip. How does one who wants to be in front of the camera, how do you do it?
I would take off your top.
That would help.
But only kidding. You know, hosting is an art form that I absolutely love. I started off as an actor, and then I always loved the art of conversation. And I did 236 shows on public access television. And how I got that gig in the first place is I always make notes and then follow up. And I called Theta Cable Studios in Santa Monica out of the blue. And
Those were the days, huh?
Those were the days.
Anyone could get their own show
Yeah.
if you were disciplined enough and had the foresight to know how to get interesting guests.
Well, I called up and I said, "Hi, this is Paul Ryan. I'd like to host a talk show." "Hold on, please." Another department. "Public access." "Yeah, hi, this is Paul Ryan. I'd like to host a talk show." And the girl said, "Fine, when would you like to start?" I didn't know what she was talking about. Because in show business, it's always
Yes, of course.
"We'll call you, we'll leave a message." So I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Well, it's available to the public." So I said, "I'll be down in half an hour." So I went down. There were 3 little Motley cameras in there. And I thought, this is a possibility. So my first guest was Harvey Lembeck. And I was in his comedy workshop, which was the comedy workshop in Hollywood. It was on Monday nights on Robinson Boulevard. And the students included Robin Williams, John Ritter, and a whole bunch of veteran character actors who were unbelievable. And for the first year, I wasn't good. And I kept going, and there would be like this one guy who was a veteran comedy actor, and he said, "Paulie, hang in there. Paulie, hang in there."
And what was it like being in a class with all these legends?
Well,
Like,
they weren't legends
at
yet.
the time, yeah, but
Yeah.
just you could see. I know when I'm in a class and I see greatness.
Yes.
So doesn't that make you feel more insecure?
Yes.
I can't even take a risk because these guys will.
It was scary.
Yeah.
And after a year, Harvey was looking for a new assistant because the guy was going to Captain Kangaroo, and the one he had at the time. And he said, and I did a roast to this guy, Frank Alicia, and Harvey said, "You're my new assistant. You were very funny tonight." And it was like, wow. So I wound up teaching 3 of his classes and then venturing out on my own and teaching at CBS. But those early days, scary. Awe of Robin Williams, awe of John Ritter.
Yes. Tell me a little bit about Robin. What was your experience with him? Not just as a genius or comedic genius, but as a human being.
Well, I had him on my talk show on public access, and then later on again with John Ritter. He was a really good man. He was generous in spirit. He was brilliant on stage. He was giving on stage. If you were lucky enough to work with him, you got a lot. And all those people now who were in the class and subsequent classes have all emailed me because they're all very upset because they've lost somebody that was in the beginning of their career who inspired them tremendously. So inspiration is amazing when you work with great people. So I was fortunate, I was lucky.
And you are an amazing teacher because in your class, so many of the talented people were in the class, We're talking about how much they grew under you and how you made them feel safe. And the people who weren't so good, probably how you were feeling in the beginning.
Yes.
I saw the way you cared for them. You never criticized. You always just said, that's good. Let's try it another way. Or you just played with them where they felt like they were just hanging out with you. And that was one of the things that really impressed me about you. And I started saying, you got to go to Paul's class because it was so safe. So maybe you became that way because you felt like the underdog in the beginning.
Maybe. It's just my intuitive way that if somebody's going to take my class, and, you know, I call it our class as opposed to my class, I owe something to them.
But a lot of teachers are very critical and arrogant.
Yeah.
I went to Stella Adler's class, for example, and I was so excited. I got into Stella Adler's class, the Stella Adler. You know, you read about her. I'm sitting in the classroom, and I'm like, wow. And the first person goes up, and it's a blonde woman. And before she could get 3 or 4 words out, oh, stop that. Oh, what are you doing? How did you get in my class? Okay, who got her in, you know? I'm like, oh my God. And she's standing there, okay, try this. Then she does it. She goes, get off. You don't even deserve to be on my stage. The next person tore them apart. Next person. And I went, there's no way I'm getting on that stage. And I never did. And some of the men that got up, she was very comfortable with and liked them.
Love the guys.
Love the guys. But the women, especially blonde women, forget it. They sucked regardless of what they did. So going to your class and a few other people, you were always the nicest. You're like, God, this is like a workshop with your friends, but someone who really knew what they were doing.
Well, you're dealing with somebody's artistic substance.
Yes.
They want to have it greased. They want to have it nurtured.
Yes.
And I had a girl who was in my comedy workshop for a year and a half, and so shy, painfully shy. And then after a year and a half, she created like 4 or 5 characters. She blossomed. So the timing thing, you don't know. It's always different. Speaking of Stella Adler, somebody I knew arranged for me to have a meeting with her, a social meeting.
Okay.
And she was staying in the Hollywood Hills, and she came down a staircase from upstairs, like Sunset Boulevard. The hair was blonde, it was up, it was the suit, the whole thing. And she made a big entrance, and she sat on the couch, and she said, tell me all about yourself. Do you know, she was flirtatious.
Wow. I did not meet that Stella Adler.
We had because I watched her class, and I saw how she tore people apart.
Your experience.
Yeah. But when I met her, she was it's a meeting I'll never forget.
A remarkable woman.
Remarkable.
When she was on, her insights were insane. It was just like, whoa. I was just like this the whole time taking notes.
Yeah, I remember with one girl in class, she said, she shouted from the back of the theater, darling, you must never come to the theater ever again. Do you know what I mean? It was like...
No bullshit, just...
Yeah, dissecting her. I had the good pleasure to interview Lee Strasberg. And that was a treat because so many great people have worked with him.
Yes, I met his wife, never him.
Anna.
Yes.
So here was this man in his elder years, and he opened up when I talked about Marilyn. Mm-hmm. He was in love with Marilyn. Tears in his eyes talking about Marilyn. And he said, oh, Marilyn was... you can't describe. Do you know what I mean? He just was in love with her. So it happens. It happens. But a lot of, I love great acting. When the award season comes up and the Academy Awards season, and I have to see everything because it's the best acting going. And you watch phenomenal actors and I'm in heaven.
So what is it about it that you like, and what have you learned? How have you grown as a person, being an actor, being a TV host, from who you were before you started doing it and afterwards, and how did you handle some of the fame or the responsibility that came with it, of having a great person on your couch and interviewing them?
Being in the moment. So many hosts have it all mapped out. For instance, interviewing Diane Cannon. You know, I give great introductions and a fun tag at the end of the intros that'll crack them up in some way. When I had Henry Fonda on, here is the former troubleshooter for Northwestern Rail Telephone, Mr. Henry Fonda, as well as the, you know, awards and things. Jack Lemmon, here is an actor who, while in college, wrote a thesis on why we lose 8% of the alcohol in a martini when we put the olive in there, because he wrote a thesis about it.
Okay.
So it's minutia, but it's
Do you
fun.
know how?
What's that?
Why does it lose 8% of the alcohol?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I just
want to know that. Now I'm going to go Google it.
exactly.
Okay.
But Diane Cannon, and then I say, you know, here is the top Laker girl, because she goes to all the Laker games, and then she has this laugh, ha 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 ha, that goes on for 2 minutes, and so whatever I was planning to say, Diane, the laugh, where did that come from? And she said, oh, I had an acting teacher who said, if you keep laughing like that, you'll never work in this town, ever. So everyone's got great little stories. And so it's excavating. It's excavating. It's like a mind excavation of like, who is this person? What am I going to do in this interview that's going to be different? That's going to be soul-searching. That's going to be funny. So that's the fun part about it.
So tell me something about you. Tell me something interesting about you that nobody knows or that you haven't shared before.
I'm a gigantic sports fan.
Really?
Gigantic.
Okay, I never knew that about you. You've
Yes.
never even mentioned sports to me.
It's my own world. It used to be my connection with my father and I,
Yeah.
and my father and I. First thing in the morning, I read the sports page. Baseball season, I have to read every box score. You know, who I look at the standings. I have all this information about.
Why?
I love it.
What does it do for you?
Oh, it's who I am. It is who I am.
Were you an athlete?
I played, I grew up in Philadelphia, and I played box ball, handball, wire ball, stick ball, any kind of ball, and I organized the games because I lived in row houses, and that's what you did after school. So my mother worked, my father worked, so those games were vital to me. And organizing the whole thing was like who I was. I loved it. You know, playing ball, you know, those few minutes I played ball with my father were very meaningful. But with my gang in the street, they were everything to me. And then I moved to England when I was 15 because my mom is from London. And basically it was to get away from my father's family, who were, you know, sort of like tough. And so when I left all that sports thing in the streets behind. And that was a challenge because I couldn't adapt to the school system in England. So I wound up working and blah, 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 eventually coming back. But the constant in my life has been sports. Baseball, number 1. Basketball, number 2. Football, number 3.
Okay.
And those 3 sports are who I am. I also love tennis.
So do you love that more than acting and hosting?
No, hosting I love more than anything. It's like,
So is it about sports being in the moment, hosting you're in the moment?
yes.
Okay, so you like being in the moment, like
Yes.
being present to life.
Yes.
So what is the meaning of life to you?
The meaning of life.
Yeah, you just had a health scare, you're going through some, is it okay to say?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going through some personal stuff right now. And sometimes when you're going through something that possibly could be life-threatening, you start thinking about life. Have I lived the life I wanted? And, you know, what have I actually accomplished internally and externally? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, you know, for many years I have gone into inner work. And while other people were doing, I got rid of the party scene very early, but I was done by 2021. And then I got into transcendental meditation, which I've been doing twice a day for a long time. And you name a seminar, I've done it. You know, whether it's Making Love Work with Barbara DeAngelis or, you know,
The forum or
all of
Ask,
that.
all that stuff.
All
Okay.
of that. I've done all of it. And then I've been a practitioner at Agape for a number of years. And one of the things I do really well, that I really pride myself on, is I give great prayer.
You do.
I do.
You've done it for me.
Yeah. After the service, people can go to the back of the sanctuary and get prayer. When I was at the Optimum Health Institute, I probably prayed for maybe 6 or 7 people, women. And women who needed it, who wanted it, who had health challenges. So my inner life is so ebullient because I've worked at it. So it's interesting, I brought this picture because these were my buddies in class, Robin Williams and John Ritter. And we shared a lot of growth together in those, I wouldn't say tough lean years, but it's just like joyous.
Yes.
So both of them have passed. And for John, I was the pledge host for many years for the United Cerebral Palsy telethon that he co-hosted. Henry Winkler, him, and somebody else. And Robin I would see from time to time. And here's 2 giants. They became giants in the industry. And so, with Robin, it was such a shock. It just happened that this man would take his life. So my mother asked me during this health challenge, have you ever thought of, I'm paraphrasing, but doing yourself in? Well, it wouldn't even be a possible thought in my mind because I love life too much.
Yeah, that's what I get from you. Unless
Yes.
there's something I don't know about you.
No, there's no,
Yeah.
it's like...
This is insane. We
Yeah.
were at Optimum Health Institute
Yes,
together, and I
yes.
actually went there to try to help support you there.
Thank you.
And you ended up winding in the ICU.
Yes.
Ending up in the, Lisa, will you take me to the hospital?
Yes.
And we were supposed to co-host
Yeah.
Friday Night Live, this improv open mic thing. And all of a sudden you can't do it. And so I'm at the event, and I call you and ask, because everyone loved you because you hosted it the week prior.
Yeah.
And said, we want Paul. And this other guy wanted to do it too. And I was like, no.
Yes.
So the other guy got to do it. And I called you and I said, everyone's asking about you. Would you do a little bit? So from your hospital bed, after getting a blood transfusion,
Yes.
you're on the phone. I put you up to the mic and you're telling jokes. And everyone's laughing. And then you say, okay, thank you. Okay, goodbye. And that just told me so much about your character and who you were. Everyone was talking about it, that they were shocked, and that was unbelievable how much you still had a desire to make others laugh, and that you weren't, oh, poor me, I'm in the hospital, or I'm in pain, I saw you. You had blood everywhere and needles and not pretty. And
Not pretty, yeah. But first of all, thank you you came up with the idea.
I did because I wanted to hear you first
Yes,
of all, and I
yes.
wanted to co-host with you.
Yes.
And everyone I knew was saying how fantastic you were from the night before, and I just know you from your class, so I
Right.
wanted to experience you. So I said, I want to just do something. So how did that shift you? Knowing that you could have come close to something, you could have some life-threatening disease.
I was always very active, as I shared with you. And what happened to me was I had a bone marrow biopsy. And the doctor put the needle in the iliac crest on the side here. And it wasn't aspirating. The liquid wasn't coming out. He took the needle out, and he put another needle in. I don't know if it was the same one because I was on my stomach. And after he put it in, he was like pounding on my back. And each time he would do this, I would go, ow, ow, ow. And he heard me, and he kept going till he was done. And then I left the office. It was a 30-minute office procedure, basically. And I got home. I'm in my car, and it hit me, I can't move. and I couldn't walk. And I had to ask a neighbor to help me in. And I was in a wheelchair for 4 months. Talk about humbling. You have to have, I had a caregiver.
Yeah, of course.
And then a walker, and then a cane. And now I have an AFO brace. And I don't walk the same. I have a drop foot. And I've gone through a lot of pain.
Okay, so what do you have to say about that to others to learn from this, from everyone you've met?
Mm-hmm.
And you've met a lot of stars, a lot of successful people. You're very successful, and you've led a life that many people only dream about. How does one achieve their dreams or their goals? Can you give us 3 ways people could achieve their goals? So when they get to your part, this part in life where they start having complications, and they could look back at a life well lived.
Well, I think falling in love with life, falling in love with yourself in life, falling in love with spirit.
How does one do that? That's excellent.
Yeah.
3 great examples.
Thank you. You fall in love with spirit because, there's a phrase, God is all there is. And I don't care how you slice it, dice it, what you call it. There's a force, there's an energy that runs our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And
So you're talking about staying connected, and one of the ways you do it is through TM.
TM is one I never miss. I pray for people. I go to Agape periodically. I'll stream it online. I was always interested in going to people who could inspire my inner growth. That was who I was and am. So every day, I do a prayer treatment once or twice a day, actually twice a day, before I go to sleep. And I'll say something like, thank you, God, thank you, God, thank you, God. I know right here and right now that I'm one with this presence. I'm one with spirit. I'm one with the divine. And as I know this truth about myself, I know this truth about, and I might say my mother or whoever I choose to. And I know that God is all there is. Love is all there is. And I am so grateful for all of my blessings. And even though you're going through a challenge, I'm grateful for all of my blessings. I'm grateful.
So teach people how to show up in life. How do you show up in life? How do you get a passion? How do you seize the moment?
Well,
how do you make right decisions so your life is one that you want to live?
Yeah, you tune in.
Okay.
You tune into yourself. This period of time has taken me deeper.
Yes.
Health challenge, deeper. And there's a trust, and you get a little choosier of who you want to hang with, where you want to go, what you want to do. I've been to so many different things, events. So I'm in love with myself. I don't say that in an egotistical way at all.
Yeah, that's wonderful. People need to hear that because people
Yes.
feel guilty if they love themselves or
Yeah.
feel ashamed if they love themselves. But if they don't love themselves, they really can't love someone else. And they certainly can't love life. Because if you don't love yourself and you're hanging out with yourself every second of the day,
Yeah.
how are you really going to enjoy life unless you numb yourself out with drugs?
Yeah, I was never, I have to be honest, not that I haven't been honest, but I have not been incredibly successful with relationships. Some people are great at it.
Yeah. Yeah, you never married, right?
No.
And you haven't been in too many long-term relationships.
No.
Why is that?
It's a mystery.
Too in love with yourself?
I'm too in love with me.
I just want me.
I don't know. I think I was hypnotized for the wrong reasons. It's like as substantive as I am in my spiritual life. My romantic life, as I look back, there were moments. Self-worth had something to do with it. That's like an ongoing journey. And I can't be with somebody if there's any negativity.
Gone.
Gone. Why would I be with somebody that I felt uncomfortable with?
For security? For safety? Because you don't love yourself, so you feel like you deserve to be with someone who hurts you or puts you down?
No. Eventually, they're gone.
Yeah.
It's over.
But that's good. That's a good lesson for people to hear, because most people will settle. I just can't be alone. The thought of being alone is more painful than the thought of being with someone who's abusive.
Yeah.
As a life coach, and
no, I have no trouble being
I have
alone.
a lot of clients that come in and say they're being abused or this or that, and they're like, I can't leave because of whatever their reason is.
Yeah, I don't have that.
Yeah.
Because I'm an only child.
Right.
I always had to depend on myself.
Yeah.
So when my mother was working, my father was working, I was playing ball. I can find a lot of things that interest me.
Are you afraid of dying alone? That's a huge reason why people stay with someone.
Am I afraid of dying alone? No, because I'm not alone.
Thank you for saying that. That's what I was hoping you were going to say. We're
Yeah.
never alone. We have
Never.
friends. We have God. We have
Yes.
people. We have caretakers. We have, if you're a person who shows up every day and you love yourself and know how to love others, there's always someone around.
Yeah. I mean, when I say God is all there is,
Yes.
not to sound, heavily spiritual, oh my God, but God is all there is.
That's true.
And whatever word you call it or name it, there's this spirit that is running our lives.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this universe, sometimes you look at nature.
Yep.
I'll look out of my window and I see a tree and I go, and it's just, the leaves are bending and I'm thinking, wow.
Flowers. Have you ever seen flowers in slow motion? I saw a documentary about it, and it's just watching it unfold and blossom and sway. It's like all of them are speaking with each other. The nature is alive.
Yes.
Well, we don't know how alive that is. So there's got to be something bigger. And I know when I'm scared and I'm alone, I just connect and tune in. And that's why I recommend being out in nature so much. When you're feeling sad and depressed, first thing, do something for someone else. And second, go out in nature and spend time alone.
The Africans are very big on going out in nature to learn about life.
Mm-hmm.
The Africans.
Yes.
And,
Very
one...
much so.
Yeah,
That's where they live, pretty much, yeah.
Right,
Or
but in
very
other words,
close to nature.
Africans who don't have anything.
Yes.
And these kids are so happy.
Yes.
Like yourself, I've traveled around the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I've, been to the Dead Sea. I've climbed Masada.
Mm-hmm.
I did an interview in a shanty town in South Africa, in Cape Town, where 1 million people live in cardboard communities.
Yes, I've been there.
And the guy who showed me around, his son had dived off a big rock 2 weeks prior and was dead. And this same man took me around, gave me the tour, and somebody at the end told me that story that I just shared with you. And I said, how could you muster up the energy to do? He said, no, you are my guest. It is my honor to do this.
Yes. So gracious.
So gracious. And so by traveling around the world, and because I traveled very early, 7 and 11 to England, and when you're in England, you just hop, skip, and jump to other countries in Europe. And so I would travel on ships with my mother, and at the end of the ships, all the different, cabin class, tourist class, first class, I was little Bernie going to every area. And people would say, hi, Bernie, hi, Bernie, hi, Bernie. And my mother would say, how do you know all these people? Because I would, I was little, and I would just go everywhere. One early trip to England, they have something called the Trooping of the Colors. And I moved through all the people, and I touched the Queen's boot. Now, it might seem dumb, who cares? And I told my mother a couple times, she said, you did what? She didn't even know where I went. But I just have always been
You touched the Queen's boot.
Queen's boot.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, just to even think about that. So you wanted to get in close proximity.
Yes.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
I've had amazing
See,
moments.
a lot of curiosity, a lot of just lust for life.
I've had moments. I had a moment
So
where...
tell me, what do you want your legacy to be?
What do I want my legacy to be? Is that a question about what I want other people to think about me? Or?
When you pass, what do you want people to say about you? What do you want your gift to the universe to be from your existence on this planet?
He touched my life in a really good way. I may have touched the boot of the Queen, but I touched people's lives in some way.
God, I think you achieved that already. Because when you were in that hospital, people you met for 2 weeks were just torn apart. Yes, and you've touched my heart, certainly. Getting to know you better, it's just, you're one of my closest friends, and
Thank you.
I've
I
known
feel
you
the same way.
well for about 3 or 4 months, maybe. Yes.
Yeah,
So-
it's like when souls
Yes.
connect.
Yes.
You can't describe it.
Yes.
You're with somebody soul to soul,
Yes.
and that's magic.
Yes. You just love them. You don't know why. It's just there. It's not hard. It's not,
Yeah,
you just connect.
yeah,
And when you're in the moment with someone and you could feel yourself that well, you know, where you just feel so comfortable. It's just such a safe place when you're with someone, you know, that's magic. And when you can make people feel that way, that is a legacy. And I think that is your gift to the world.
yeah. And I just want to give a little kudo to my mother.
Please do.
Because she is an amazing example of unconditionality. I had a conversation because she goes through
I
stuff.
love your mom.
She's an amazing woman.
She is.
But she was being very negative about this friend and that, and then I was listening, and then all of a sudden I said, Mom, stop it. Stop it. They are who they are. They're in your life for a reason, and you talking about them negatively is not good. You have to stop it. I don't want to hear it. And she heard me.
That late 80s and she heard you? That's saying something.
She heard me, and she'll say, she said a couple times now, okay, no negativity, no negativity. And so I have an interesting antenna, as you do. It's an antenna, and it just sort of goes up, and sometimes it's a little selfish, but I have an antenna of where my soul connects. And, you know, those people are very, very, very special. Very special. And life is very special.
Yes.
Life is very special. And, you know, there's a thing, I am not my leg, I am not my foot, I am not my circumstances. And the mind has a field day.
Yes.
You know, wanting to agree with that.
Yes.
That's why, you know, the self-talk is so important.
Yes.
I'm grateful. I'm grateful because we're in that sense of, when you're in the sense of gratitude.
Yes. When you're in gratitude, nothing can go wrong.
Yeah.
Yes, even if it's going wrong, you're still centered. And things will get better
Yeah.
instead of continuing to get worse. Thank you so much.
Is it over?
It is.
I'm not leaving.
I know.
I'm not leaving.
I know. It's so fast.
Yeah.
We could sit here all day.
Yeah.
So many topics I'd love to just address with you, but this is legacy, and I think you nailed it.
Thank
So,
you. Thank you for providing this fabulous forum.
Yay.
Yeah.
And to be continued off
To be
camera.
continued, yes.
Yes. All right. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, my pleasure.